some of you, likely all of you know that moving into year two, a big goal of ours when we started this program was to establish Saskatchewan's first Hockey Canada sports school, and establish it with the future plan to try and get programs running in the Canadian Sports School Hockey League. So in year one, it was the year that these young men in the front there's 19 of them that made up our program for year one that went into an independent academy model. And so year one is an independent academy. I think we played 36 games now, guys, I want to say. And in those 36 games, that was basically done through travel of exhibition games, tournaments, things like that. And we've had an incredible year, some great experiences. Some of them might get to talk to you guys about it over the weekend. It's been fun. The big push that we're aiming for the whole time is to get entrance into the Canadian Sports School Hockey League, so the CSSHL. So we'll talk a little bit about that over the weekend through some of our other classroom sessions and stuff as well. But ultimately, we've been accepted next year. And I know a lot of you, the reason why you're here today is to look at what does it look like to be a part of Prairie Hockey Academy next year. What does a day in the life look like as a student athlete? And having a chance to compete on either our Elite 15 team or the midget varsity program going into the league next year. So we're thrilled about the opportunity. We think highly of the CSSHL. We think it's one of the top developmental leagues in Western Canada that focuses on student athlete development, which is a big thing for me. Prairie Hockey Academy talk lots about using the power of hockey to develop life champions. There's a lot of hockey programs that are available for you guys to play in today. I believe one of the biggest factors in hockey today, and one of the things that sometimes isn't developed, is the character side. And so a big piece for me as we talk, and Humble Strong will lead into it a little bit more, is how do we focus on developing you as complete athletes? Teammates, I often have talked about. So the guys on our team understand when we talk about, what does it mean to be a teammate, and what's your only job as a teammate, and simply it's to love each other. And so we'll talk about, that idea when Humble Strong probably comes up a little bit more and deeper and get into that a bit further. But a life champion to me is simply that. It's somebody at the end of the day that's known as a great teammate, that's known as somebody who's a great community member, that when you leave hockey one day, that you understand that you're loved and accepted for who you are and not what you do. The game of hockey can get pretty cruel at times as you go on and play at higher levels of different things and a little bit more demanding. And so it's really important that you understand your identity as a young man and understand that you have a lot to give to this world. So that's a big piece that we push and what we talk about and try and build into you to understand. We want you to go on and play at the highest level you can, but when you're done playing hockey, we want you to become a great father and a great husband and a great community member and learn how to give back and to develop others. So that's a big piece we'll talk about. We kind of already mentioned this. PHA has created an experience that fosters growth and development of young student athletes who will become tomorrow's leaders. We're pretty confident in that and the stuff that we do. Our philosophy is simply that. The purpose that we exist here today is, yes, we want to develop high-performance hockey players. We want to create opportunities for these young men to move on and play at excellent levels and achieve their goals. But ultimately, we want to develop life champions. So a vision of that is to foster character and leadership development in each of these student athletes during their time on this campus. Each student athlete would learn to serve their teammate, their family, and their communities in meaningful and authentic ways. It's a big piece. That each student athlete learns how to practice and develop skills that are effective and attractive to the next level. So we talk often about, failure even in practice, and that failure is actually not a bad thing, right? As we're pushing through drills and trying to get better at them. We talk a lot about this idea of a growth mindset as compared to a fixed mindset in some of our classes, and just establishing that growth mindset and putting it in place. And it's not something that you do today and you're good for the rest of your life. It's something that we have to constantly kind of approach again. Financial opportunities. So whether that be through Western Hockey League pursuits and the opportunity to have their scholarship fund, or whether it's through our academic standards here and the ability to gain scholarship through SAT scores and that. Either way, academics are going to be a big part of what we do, and we hope to create financial opportunities for the future. This is a simple day in the life of a student athlete this year. And so I don't know what it would be like to be one of our grade 9 or 10 or 11 students this year. It's, when I think back when I had to play hockey, or got to play hockey, I should say, I went to school all day and then played in the evening or practiced in the evening. So this is a really cool schedule. Our student athletes this year look like this. Our period 1's 8:30 to 9:45, and it's a core course. History, English, stuff like that was kind of period 1 for you guys. Period 2 is that elective course, and actually period 2 for us at Cairnport High School is our chapel course or Christian ethics. So it kind of flips back and forth, and we'll hear a little more about this from AJ and Derek. Period 3 is another class, and actually this is in lieu of phys ed class. Essentially, our guys go to practice, and so this is our on-ice practice every day. From times are a little off, but we practice from 11 till 12:15, 12:30 every day, and then go to lunch, which is period 4, that noon hour. Period 5 is another core course just after lunch hours, another class, whether it's math or whatever core you have, and then period 6 is our off-ice training. This is where we've, throughout this year, we brought in somebody like Neil DeCatcha from Trench Fitness. So he came and spoke just about nutrition and proper workout and things like that. Won 4th place in the world for natural bodybuilding. We brought in others on healthy relationships, brought in some people on social media and how to build your brand and utilize social media properly. In that classroom session, that's where every Wednesday Humble Strong comes in and sits in and talks about character and leadership development. On Tuesdays and Thursdays, that's our strength coach, who's not here tonight, but will be here tomorrow. Andy Schmidt works with our guys in the gym and does our strength training. And we usually just kind of fill in around that. So that's kind of how we use that period for different events. And then, again, this semester 3, so the Cairnport High School is a 3-semester system. So you'll hear a little bit more about that and break it down when Derek comes and speaks a little bit more. On the hockey development, one of the things about the academy side is just the sheer amount of time that we get to spend in development. I know a couple of you guys were keeping track of hours. I know Kurt one time knew the number. Anybody know practice hours we had today? Forget now? Okay. I think we were over 130 at Christmas break. I think it was 120, something like that, at Christmas break. And so at one point in time we were talking at likely somewhere around 200 hours of practice this year. A lot of practice time. As compared to some of you have just finished up some of your club teams or minor hockey teams that might have seen 40 to 60 hours of practice, and so just looking at the actual practice and development time every day, a lot of our guys have opportunity at additional skill development time, whether that be Friday morning with a shooting coach or other skills, or different drop-in for the guys that are in the dorms. You guys, Chris, right, you kind of benefit from a little bit more evening time. Off-ice hours, so that's our off-ice training piece, whether that's in the gym or whether that's in the character side of things. We're looking at that 185 to 215 hour time of training. And then study hall. So we in the dorms do study hall. Every night it's mandatory for everybody in the dorm from 7:30 to 8:30 at night to do our study hall. And I know it's been a big piece for our guys to, even as we go on the road, being able to set aside time for study hall and keep up in the academics is our first priority. So student athletes is what we pride ourselves in being a part of. So why the CSSHL? So why was it so important to us to get into this league? Big piece for me is the CSSHL really partners with us in regards to our vision of developing what we call life champions and just focusing on the student athletic development side. It's a very holistic approach they have. They focus on student athletes. They now give away, scholastic awards. They also give away humanitarian awards as 2 of their kind of top awards they give away at their championship events. It's one of their focuses, and it fits well with our program. The league itself has obviously grown over the last 10 or 12 years. There's now 20 programs in the league, going from Winnipeg to Victoria, even Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And of those programs, they make up about 70 different teams in 7 divisions. And so there's quite a few teams to travel to, lots of opportunities for exposure as we travel and go. The league itself has a fairly prestigious reputation, from all the way from the Bantam division all the way up to the midget division. You see it right now in the BDO championship, where if you watch a little bit on Twitter or see some things in some of the arenas, you get some pretty full rinks and lots of exposure development there too. And I think for us in Saskatchewan, the opportunity for us in the midget side, being the only Elite 15 program in Saskatchewan to represent Saskatchewan as we travel, is a big piece for me as we look at it in our midget varsity program as well. The showcase events allow us to continue on with our student athlete side. So having that focus on academics in the class throughout the week, and then traveling for weekends where we go to, maybe we're off to Calgary, we're at the Edge School, we'll be there, we'll play 3 or 4 games, then we'll come back and go to school again Monday through Thursday or Monday through Friday, whatever our schedule allows that week before we might travel again or maybe host teams here. We don't have a schedule yet, we won't until May. But if we took the farthest east team, say Rink Hockey Academy in Winnipeg, and we overlaid it with what we might presume to be a similar schedule for us, we saw this past year they played, it's a 36-game regular season schedule. They played 15 home games over 5 weekends. So they bring in teams, 2 or 3 teams would fly in to Cairnport here for the weekend. We'd host them. We'd play 3 games, 4 games maybe over that weekend here on our home ice. And then they played 21 games on the road over 6 away weekends. So they hit up their 36-game schedule. So we'd have 6 weekends where we're traveling outside of tournament dates and going that way. So it's basically the makeup of the regular season itself. And I just think the track record of the league itself and the development side and the alumni that they've produced already in the last number of years speaks for itself in regards to the league and the developmental focus that they have. For our guys this year, we're excited. A lot of programs are already winding up and finishing, and we recognize that. We're off to our Banff next weekend for a big tournament, and that'll be fun. But over and above that, we're actually on the ice still every day and off-ice training every day until June. Really cool part is we're done every day at 4 p.m. If you saw our academic schedule. And so being done every day at 4 p.m. actually allows us to focus on student life, focus on our academics, some family life for those of you that still get to live at home, getting to have dinner. But ultimately, even if we want to play other sports. So I know a lot of our guys have talked about track and field already, or some of us talked about badminton, different events like that, and giving us that chance in the school to participate still with Cairnport High School on some of those school teams. Because we're done hockey for the day. So that's really basically it for me. In closing, thrilled that you're all here, and I just whether you end up choosing to come and play a part here at Prairie Hockey Academy or not, a big piece for us is just recognizing each one of you as an individual, letting you know that you guys are loved and accepted for who you are as young men, and that it doesn't really matter what you do. But we hope you find a home here. We hope that you choose to be a part of Prairie Hockey Academy if you're given that chance to be here. And we look forward to the weekend to work with you guys. I'm going to call up AJ, and unless he just walked away on us, so there he is, perfect. Call up AJ just to talk to us a little bit more about the school side.
Awesome. Thank you. Hey, welcome here. My name's AJ. I live here. I work for Prairie. I had the privilege the last 7 of the last 8 years of being our chaplain at Cairnport High School. And this year I've moved up to a grown-up office. There's a window and everything, and I have a desk and a second monitor now. It's real grown-up stuff. We have a chaplain named Caleb, and he couldn't be here tonight. His wife's about to have a baby, and we were playing soccer the other night, and he blew out his knee. You guys see him with crutches? He was like hobbling around this week. It was just the LCL. He's fine. So it wasn't blow out his knee. He's fine. He already had surgery on that knee. But what he gets to do, of course, is walk day to day, be available to our students. And so for a good part of the last decade, that's been my story, is that I've been able to walk with our CHS students, help them understand, be there for them, be a bit of a youth pastor type presence. What's helpful for me too is that my wife works at the school. She just also had a baby, so she's not working right now. But she says next January she'll be back to mark your English essays very, very hard, and to whip your writing back into shape. How many of you have Mrs. Crocker? Did any of you have Mrs. Crocker? Yeah. Are you happy she's not teaching any, not marking your big finger? You can say yes. It's fine. You can say yes. My bigger story is that I grew up in Moose Jaw. I went to high school here at Prairie. I graduated before most of you student athletes were born, and in grade 7, grade 8, grade 9 were sketchier years for me, and I got myself into some trouble. I don't know, you guys wouldn't know anything about this, but these were years where I had some friends that were taking me down some paths that weren't getting me in trouble. And I remember the second time the cops brought me home, my parents sort of said, hey, this is starting to become regular, what's happening here. And it was just a snowball run from it. It was fine. But I got a little bit of trouble. And at the end of grade 8, Mr. Friesen, Lloyd, you were there, ended up being talked into pulling the fire alarm, learned it was a federal offense. And this was one of the only times my dad, I remember him yelling at me. And he just looked at me when he came to pick me up from the school over here. He came to pick me up, and he looked at me, and he yelled at me, and he said, the last time the cop brought you home, you said this wasn't going to happen again. And I realized at that point in life that I had veered well off of where I wanted to be, who I wanted to be. And so when I was in that summer between grade 8 and grade 9, I was choosing between Central and Cairnport, and I knew two things about Cairnport. One, I knew that my older cousin was an assistant captain on our Cougar team, and he had a really attractive girlfriend, and they'd be my friends, and I'd be a cool grade 9. I knew that part. I also knew that if I chose to come, I could play hockey in place with people who were a bit more like me, guys who actually wanted to be a bit better than they were, and I'd have a shot at some Christian friends. And to me at that point, it was a change in my life where I decided to put myself in a location, in a situation, and in a community that actually called me to be better than I was behaving. I had a good family, a good sister, I had good support, but I was choosing all these poor decisions. And I still got a bunch of trouble. It was funny, more funny trouble than illegal trouble in high school. But there was still some weird stories to tell. But it ended up putting me on a path where I was able to maximize and learn my strengths, understand my personality better, understand my strengths, my skills, my abilities, which weren't hockey by the time I went to grade 12. And I ended up realizing that there was this much bigger plan for me. I was developed into a young man who could be helpful and not just harmful to his surroundings. And I'm so thankful for that. And so when I think back on that, I remember the locker room being so different in Cairnport than it was in Moose Jaw. I remember my coaches caring about me and my integrity, my character. I remember my coaches asking us, caring deeply about whether or not we were paying attention in chapel and if we were understanding the Bible. And I remember clearly that some of the friends that I made in that grade 9 year when I chose to come here that were around that room, those are still the dudes that called me at 6 tonight to go to the Warriors game. And I said, I gotta work. Let that be a good game. Oh, I was scared. I almost bailed. And Derek, you would have to go by yourself. It's pretty close. But we'll go to the playoff game instead. But those are still the dudes in my life. And that's one of the things I think that a wonderful, beautiful legacy of Cairnport High School is that a lot of people come from all over the place. There's not a lot of people from this tiny little town. Most people move here for school. Most people move here to come to a place that's going to prioritize their development as a whole person, not just as an athlete or not just as a student. That we're going to prioritize the development of our students' spirituality as well as their knowledge and their academic. And we're going to prioritize, of course, their athletic ability and their skills and development, but also their relationships and their maturity and their responsibility. You think about being in grade 10, living at home, and playing hockey and going to school in kind of different realms. And then you think about potentially moving into a dorm system where we have a youth pastor type person called an RD, two RDs technically in the guys' dorm. We've got RAs that are college students living in the dorm, overseeing and caring for. We've got college students that are handpicked and interviewed to just live on the hall, to be big brothers to the guys on the hall. And then we've got coaching staff. It took Justin about 5 minutes to talk about everyone who's on staff here. The HR personnel attached to Prairie Hockey Academy and Cairnport High School is immense for our 140 students this year. We're a small school with this amazing impact because we're attached to much bigger things. So Briarcrest, so a lot of people are confused about Cairnport High School and Briarcrest College and what's the connection. The easiest way to think about that is Cairnport High School is just Briarcrest's high school. It's the same thing. So Cairnport High School is a full-on Prairie South school. It's a semi-private, we would say. That's one of the ways that we would describe it. Because what you've got is teaching staff that's fully accredited, who are teaching from the SAS curriculum. You're graduating the SAS diploma, but everybody else outside of the teachers are Briarcrest staff who are working together, of course. And so we get to run in class the same as any other school, but out of class we get to run something that would develop everybody a bit more holistic, a little bit more about their whole person, and we get to care about our spiritual lives a little bit. That's another point to make sure that I cover is that this is a pretty churchy place. You don't have to be churchy when you come. You don't have to be from this deep Christian background. Some of our kids were born in the baptismal tank and they never left. They grew up in the basement of some church. That's a joke. That's just a churchy joke. That's fine. A lot of our students, a lot of my friends that came here, didn't know which Bible we were reading, right? Didn't know a thing, didn't have any background. We're asking if they need to be confirmed to come. And none of that is, like, those questions we can work through. Regardless of where you're on that path and where you're there, we would ask our students to be open. We recognize that this is a Christian school, that this is going to be a school where we care about your spirituality and your openness to thinking and discussing that. But there's no Christian thermometer that we're putting you guys through to see if you're spiritual enough, because we'd all not pass that. None of us would pass that. Right? So we're here to make sure that our students are able to grow in their understanding of God and what we believe here. But I don't think there's any over the head with the Bible. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe you guys do it to yourselves. I'm not too sure what happens when I don't remember. But it's weird when you're old, like me, and going into the dorm. But what we're about, of course, is an environment that is unapologetically focused on learning about God, learning academically, learning athletically, learning musically, and opening up our students to a holistic, a whole person development that's going to, we believe, change our lives. And we believe that, of course, because we've got this 75-year history, this 80-some year history in Briarcrest of seeing lives changed on this little campus. People coming from wherever they're from into this little place, into this giant football stadium-sized chapel, and all of a sudden seeing something really, really unique happen. And so we're so excited about this partnership with Prairie Hockey Academy because for the last 8 or 9 years we didn't have hockey in high school, and that's a big hole in our history. And in a previous era, of course, the hockey program got a little away from it, a little away from the core of what Briarcrest stands for. And so partnering with Justin, with PHA guys, has given us a chance, of course, to play a role in hockey and in the country, and be able to develop student athletes in the way that Briarcrest is so good at. I don't know what I was supposed to talk about. Let's see here. Let me hit, Derek, you're still here. You're going to come up and talk about educational encouragement?
Something like that, yep.
Yeah, okay, I'll hit these last two, and then we'll, the first two I talked about lightly, and then Mr. Zacharias will hit the middle one. A safe environment, let me tell you this. This is a dry campus. It's a dry and sober and smoke-free campus. I don't know if you can tell it by the time when you drove on, that like, these people aren't breathing smoke in anywhere, or in a rink maybe, potentially it smells a little bit differently. You can't get alcohol or well, I mean, you can try hard potentially, you can find trouble wherever you are, but you have to walk a long ways in a blizzard finding that stuff. So what I liked about that was that being into some substance abuse in grade 7, grade 8, this was a place where I would have had to work at really, really hard to find. And all of our students are held to a higher expectation, and we ask them to abstain. We check in with them. The character and integrity that is built in because of our lifestyle standards is actually really helpful. And we believe that there's a number of rules there that provide focus in some of the most important areas when we're not distracted in those areas at other times. We can get into the fine details of that if that concerns you, but the safe environment here is also along the lines of a hallway and a classroom dynamic that of course doesn't tolerate bullying, but where my wife feels like she needs to bully a few of her students every year just to give them a high school experience, because in her mind this school is too nice. She's joking about that. But what we would say is that if these students that we get to work with every day went to the high schools that we went to, they would not be walked out at the end of the day, because they're used to such a nice and caring and supportive environment. And so we are so proud of that. And so the environment here, not just the community and the surrounding area, but inside the halls and inside the classrooms and inside the dorm we would say is a very safe environment. Last thing we'll talk is the spiritual formation. What we mean about that is that, of course, that we would want to be growing spiritually and opening up some opportunities there. And so Justin mentioned that every day we have either chapel or Christian ethics. And what that means is that right after, for you guys, core class and then into Christian ethics, so Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday, you're in a Christian ethics class with a teacher in a classroom going over very topical things, going over marriage and going over sex, going over issues, and I don't know, what do you guys learn about right now? Or you guys just laughed as I said sex? Nice, you see? They're very mature young men, but they're still young men, you know what I mean? Anyway, you get to learn lots of that. On Wednesdays and Fridays, we get to jump into chapel. And New Chapel is in here with the whole school, and we get to worship, and there's some prayer time and some preaching. Every other Wednesday, we're in the big chapel with all the seminary and the college and all the staff and a bunch of community members, and we get the big, our president of Quality speaks. And the other Wednesdays, we get the small groups where there's a small group leader, and we get a smaller discussion-based time, and just a few different angles to help us explore what this stuff means. Everybody say good evening, Mr. Zacharias. You go for it. Absolutely, educational encouragement.
I'm not sure what I actually have left to say on the educational side, other than as Justin mentioned, 3-semester system, which is a little bit different. So our first 2 semesters mimic our college system. Traditionally, we have families here, mom and or dad living in seminary, kids are coming here to school. And so our first semester, September till Christmas, which is actually a huge benefit. Students write their final exams before they come home for Christmas holidays. Don't have to worry about studying over Christmas, don't have to worry about makeup assignments, getting stuff done. Enjoy Christmas with your family and take that time away from school, a little bit of time away from the arena before you come back. Our second semester starts right when we get back at the beginning of January, and our second semester is going to go until the end of April. And it kind of mimics it, as I said, the college or university system that we have. And so semester 3 then goes for the months of May and June. And so what we've designed for our Prairie Hockey Academy students is that over the first 2 semesters, they will get 7 credits if they're in grade 10, grade 11. And then in the 3rd semester, they are going to get 1 credit. And so we're going to earn 8 credits. And so minimum requirement for graduation in Saskatchewan is earning 24 credits. And so our plan is 8 as our minimum. And then as students have the opportunity to and start to think about career paths, and say, hey, I might need an extra class or 2 of this along the way, we'll figure out some options, whether it be online or an alternative timetable as we move into that. Those discussions are happening to how we can best serve our students. And so from the academic side, God mentioned we're fully Saskatchewan accredited. Students graduate with Saskatchewan diploma. What we have as opportunities in our school are opportunities that public schools don't have. I was in the public system for 18 years. And this is my 3rd year here in Carrowport now. And there are some resources here from tutoring to educational assistance to our support teachers for students to make sure that they are getting covered. We're not perfect. We don't do everything perfectly. We miss some things along the way occasionally, but it's not for lack of wanting students to have the best opportunities for students to do well academically. I think Justin has mentioned several times, we consider all of our hockey players, basketball players, volleyball players, they are student athletes, and so the student side of that comes first. And that's why the CSSHL is such a good match, because that is also the focus of their league. And so we think we provide a great experience academically, but a great life experience. For the guys who are here this year, it was probably about mid-October, I came into one of their sessions in 6th period, and we just had a little bit of a discussion about what's different about Carrowport High School than the schools you came from. And I'm kicking myself now for not actually having a camera and recording that session. Because, gentlemen, you were actually really articulate and were able to say a lot of things about how Carrowport High School is different and improved in lots of ways. Okay? And we know we're not perfect. We've got areas that we can improve, and every student has some different experiences. But things we heard, I have a life after the school day is done. Okay? It's not hammer through my school day, get in a vehicle, drive 2 hours to a practice somewhere, get home at 10 or 11 at night. Starting to find that they can have relationships with people outside of their sport, which is great. And so, tight group of guys, talk about the importance of team, but actually having a high school experience that is multiple sport, multiple activity, involved in school life, whether it be from CE classes to a chapel with 700 students in here, to pep rallies, to celebrating things that are going on, to opportunities to volunteer within our community and outside of our community. And so it's a really unique experience to be a high-performing athlete, but still be a teenager, which is really important. I think we rob a lot of our athletes, our young athletes these days, of being a teenager and having that cool experience. I just want to close with this. I'm going to be around tomorrow, whether it be in some of the sessions here. I'll be in the gym a lot because I'm kind of running the regional basketball tournament going on. But I'll be around if you have any academic questions. But as Justin talked a little bit about building life champions, just reminded me again of my own life. My oldest daughter was on a trajectory as a high-performing athlete, sport of volleyball. from grade 7 on, people were talking about what she was able to do in the game. She was fortunate to be surrounded by great people. She had some okay coaching. I was her coach a lot of the way along, but had some okay coaching. And so she began to get this perception from others, this reputation, the girl who can play volleyball. It was really cool. And when she was just about your age, halfway through grade 10, she was diagnosed with cancer. And all of a sudden her identity changed, and not of her own accord, but her identity changed from the girl who could play volleyball to the girl who had cancer. And it wasn't her asking, it wasn't the identity that she chose, but it was really cool as she went on. She decided to actually choose her own identity, and she chose the identity that she was going to be a child of the King. And so she wasn't going to be defined as a volleyball player. She wasn't going to be defined as a girl who had cancer, but she was going to be defined by who she actually belonged to. So it wasn't what she did, it wasn't what she had, but who she belonged to is how she chose her identity. And as we build life champions through PHA, and I got to say, it kind of goes across our Cougar athletics, we're so much more than athletics. Okay? We want our young men, our young women in our school, athlete or non-athlete, to actually come to a full understanding that their value is so much more than what they do. We want you to be great hockey players. We want you to excel. My daughter I talked about passed away in 2011. I've got 3 more daughters who are all high-performing athletes as well. And they love what they do, and they're excelling at it, doing some great things. But we all learned a lesson about actually our identity is never going to be in what we do, because that could be taken away in a heartbeat. But when we actually have a holistic approach to raising our kids, to giving them great opportunities, having an understanding that it's not what they do or what they have, but who they belong to, we can have some pretty incredible influencers and kingdom impactors in our world. And so there's no better place in the world to do it than CHS. I've seen a lot of schools in our province, I've seen a lot of programs, and we're not perfect, but man, we do a lot of things really well to help kids grow in really unique and cool ways. And so if the opportunity is there, if you're invited to be part of PHA, we would love to have you. If you're not invited to be part of PHA, we would love to have you come grow and be a student with us. And so, again, I'll be around if you have academic questions that you want to ask about specifics, about courses, classes, how things work. Be more than happy to answer any of those for you throughout the weekend here. And Justin has my phone number, so if you can't find me, ask Justin, ask Eric. They'll have my number, Rod's got my number. Just ask me, hey, can you get a hold of that guy who was talking about course stuff? And get a hold of him and I'll come talk to you. Thank you for giving us a little time.
Absolutely. And so when you take in the environment, the leadership, the athletic opportunities, the academic opportunities, and the maturing opportunities, we've got ourselves quite the package here, and you can tell the heart right through. Everybody say good evening, Josh.
Good evening. I did the job that PHA's done for me. Great. My name is Josh Stegall, and I have the privilege to be able to work with Humble Strong. When Justin introduced us, he introduced 4 guys called Humble Strong, and I felt like we should